will be about 60 to 70% of the final exam. So we're going to go through the first half, so you should have relative ease looking at it, but then the second half will be a little bit more focused. All right, so we start with chapter 2. We'll look at the major concepts from chapter 2, and please stop me. I'm going to ask you some questions, but if you're not sure about something, let's have that discussion. So, personality and its role in influencing organizational behavior. Now, we talked about personality in a general sense, but what we're really interested in is how do certain personalities fare? How do they perform in certain organizational settings? So ultimately, what OB strives to do is use these various models to predict what may happen or how people may act. So always think of it from a business, a work, and organizational context. The whole point of it is to try to understand if these are the facets or these are the characteristics of a particular concept or a particular dimension. How can that help me predict what is likely to happen down the road with a particular individual or a particular group or a situation? So, we look at personality and its role, how it influences organizational behavior. There are various ways of looking at it. We look at the dispositional, situational, and interactionist approach. What is dispositional? Personal. Okay, relies on personal characteristics, intrinsic to an individual. Okay, if we believe something is dispositional, a person's behavior is based on their disposition, it means we believe that it's based on who they are and particular character traits that they possess. If we believe in a situational approach, we think that just situation, just the environment will affect how they behave. Meaning, right, from a predictive perspective, anybody put in a similar situation will behave the same way. Okay? So if we have a situational approach or a situational view. Interactionist is both. It takes a little bit of personality and a little bit of environmental factors. All right? Trait activation. Anybody remember what trait activation theory tells us? So you have certain characteristics that you possess, but they don't always show up. Something in your environment or something in the situation brings them out or brings them to the surface. So you possess the trait, but you don't always have it. You may be aggressive when needed, but not be an aggressive person. You may be patient when needed, but only be patient in those specific contexts, not necessarily all the time. Okay? 5-factor. Can you name me the 5 personality dimensions? Conscientiousness, openness to new experience, extroversion, agreeableness, very good. Emotional stability. We use the N and ocean because it's just easy. We're not really looking for neurotic, we're looking for emotional stability. Okay? We're all comfortable with what each of the 5 means and what distinguishes one from another. A resounding, very nice, thank you. Locus of control, what do we mean? What is locus of control? Define it in English. Okay, what controls your behavior?
The location of where the control stems from.
The location from where the control stems from. So where do you believe control of your environment stems from? Is it internal? If I'm an internal locus of control, what does that mean? You believe that you have the skills, the abilities to manage or to handle or control a particular situation. Make sense? If you're an external, that means the situation is controlled by outside factors. Outside factors external to you, such as weather, luck, being in the right place at the right time. Okay? So internals and externals. Self-monitoring in English. Okay? So you learning to control your own behavior. You look at a situation and you decide, do I not, based on your surroundings, right? So you self-monitor. You're not being monitored, you are keeping an eye on your own behavior, and you're adjusting your behavior accordingly. Okay? Self-esteem is, in definition terms, simple definition of self-esteem. Positive self-evaluation. That's right. Self-esteem, okay, self-esteem is having a positive self-evaluation. We see ourselves in a positive light. Learning. What do people learn in organizations? Okay, we said interpersonal skills, practical skills, and what is an intrapersonal skill? What does that mean? What is an intrapersonal skill? So what is a skill that is within you? Problem solving? Analytical skills, becoming more analytical. Risk taking, critical judgment, right? These are all skills we can learn, but then will reside within us. Okay? So in organizations, we're interested in the three. We need the skills, the practical skills that help you to do a task. We need the interpersonal skills that help us to work with other people. Interpersonal, between people. Communication, cooperation, collaboration. These are all skills that are very important in any organizational context. Having good interpersonal skills allows you to maintain positive relations with coworkers, clients, suppliers, and so on.
What about
Cultural awareness. What about cultural awareness?
Social norms and organization.
Okay. Where does cultural awareness fit? Intra? Okay. Intrapersonal, right? So intrapersonal within you, learning to develop cultural awareness as well. Okay, it would fit into that category. Okay? Good so far? Any questions about this? No? Operant learning. What is operant learning? Learning by doing. Exactly. Give somebody a chance to practice so that they may learn to do. Positive reinforcement. In OB terms, please. What is positive reinforcement? Give me the words.
adding a stimulus to encourage the behavior.
Adding a positive stimulus in order to encourage or maintain a desired behavior. Okay? Sorry about the buzzwords, but I need the words, right? So to encourage, allow to have happen, or encourage the repeat or the maintenance of positive or desired behaviors. Negative reinforcement? The removal of a negative stimulus in order to
improve the rest of the group's condition, I guess. To improve the rest of the group, I would say.
Okay. In OB terms, we'll say the removal of a negative stimulus in order to encourage, to develop or increase or maintain a positive behavior, or a desired behavior. An example of that. Remember we talked about removing you from a noisy part of the warehouse, giving you better, the removal of something that gets in your way. Sometimes people work in very confined spaces. Removing some of those confinements gives you the freedom to do your job better. It is considered a positive. It's considered negative because there is a removal, but it's considered a reward type behavior. Okay, it's increased. It's reinforcement focused, not punishment focused. Okay. Extinction. What is extinction? What do you do when you try to get a behavior to become extinct?
You ignore a behavior, so like it's gonna be removed by itself.
You ignore behavior, meaning you don't encourage it. By ignoring it, you don't give it the attention it seeks. Therefore, it gradually dissipates and goes away. Okay? We all know punishment, right? Application of a negative stimulus in order to decrease an undesired behavior. Okay? Good. Good. We're all through with those. Understand those are important. social cognitive theory, remember that? Social cognitive theory, what is it about? In broad terms, what is it about? Learn by observation, so there's observational learning. By self-regulation, correct? So regulating the dosing of what to do and how to do it. Okay, and third part, believing that you can do it. Self-efficacy beliefs. Okay, observational learning, self-regulation, efficacy beliefs. Self-efficacy means having a belief in one's ability to perform a task. That's it. Don't overcomplicate it more than that. Good? Observational learning. You've been behind me the whole time. I only had one person ask me to answer. This morning start.
It's okay.
You're good?
Yeah.
Okay. No questions? That's the end of chapter 2. We're good? Good. What's perception? What do you need for perception to happen? 3 things. Target, a perceiver, and a situation. Okay? Good. What are the factors that influence perception? What will influence how we perceive? Experience. Biases, such as stereotyping, emotional state, mood and emotions. Alex? Right, that's perception. So what influences us? What happens? So what are the factors that influence perception? The situation will influence our mood, our emotions, our biases, okay? Far so good? Bruner's model of the perceptual process. What did Bruner say? What did Bruner tell us about perception? When I look at something for the first time, when something is vague or ambiguous or unknown to me, what am I going to be? Am I more or less open to cues? Very open, exactly. More open to cues. Okay, I'm looking for all kinds of cues. Once I have labeled or characterized my target, what do? I categorize it and then I become more or less selective. If I wait long enough, you're going to keep bouncing back and forth between the two. More selective, right? When you're open means you're less selective. You will take everything in. If you don't know what it is, you're looking at every aspect of it. When you know what it is, when I show you this, and I bring this for the first time, if you don't know what it is, you will look at every possible dimension of it. You look at the front, the back. So you're not selective at all if you don't know what it is. Once you've identified that it's an overhead projector, then you are very selective. You will immediately see it, and you will see what you want to see, and you quickly determine, if I show you one in a different color, you don't start the process over again, will you? You'll recognize some of the similar facets, jump right to a conclusion, go back to the initial characterization. Do we like to be wrong? No. We don't, right? So if you qualify me as a good guy, and you like me, the next time you see me and I do something that's not very good guy-ish, right? But in your mind, you characterize me as a good guy, you will look for ways to maintain that characterization. You will not like the idea that, maybe you were wrong. You'll be very selective. You look for those things that will reinforce your initial characterization. All right? Yes? Okay. Bias, sorry, excuse me. Main biases in person perception. Give me a couple of, just give me two. 2 biases in person perception.
Primary effect?
Primacy? Primacy and recency. What's primacy? First impressions. Recency. Last impressions. Another bias. Stereotyping. Which is a generalization. You attribute qualities to an entire group of people or a segment of a population. So it's a broad generalization about people who belong to a particular group or a particular population. All JMSB students are smart. Okay? Because I was a JMSB student, I think all JMSB students are smart. It's a stereotype. Just put it together. Okay? Anybody else? One more? selectivity is a component of the Brunner model, but what is the bias? Preconceived notion, but reliance on central traits is a good one, right? We say that tall people must be better at. Okay, so reliance on physical traits are the easiest ones. So reliance on central traits is a bias that we have that is based on specific facets of an individual, whether it be physical or personality dimensional. All right? How do people form attributions? What is an attribution, first of all? What is an attribution?
Feelings towards?
No, attribution.
Oh, no, okay.
Assigning causes. Attribution is assigning a cause. So I attribute an individual's behavior to dispositional, situational factors, a bit of both. Okay, so now I'm saying, how do I form an attribution? What is it that I do that helps me to develop an explanation for behaviors? Okay, so the cause of behavior. How do we do it? How do we form attributions?
The question is about the consensus, the consistency,
Look at your notes, it's okay. Look at your notes. Okay, we look for cues. If the person does it all the time, we say that the behavior is the cues we're looking for. If the person does it regardless of where they are, what happens, they're doing it all the time. It is consistent. It's consistent regardless of anything around them. They behave a certain way, therefore you must assume that it's dispositional, right? It's dispositional because we're looking for cues that will indicate that. Regardless of where they are, who they're with, what they're doing, doesn't matter what the context is, they always behave the same way. So they have consistency. What if they behave in a certain manner around some people but not around others?
Consensus.
They show high or low consensus. Meaning if they're around certain people, they'll behave one way, around other people, they'll behave another. Therefore, we'll attribute that to situational factors in their environment. And the third type of cue is distinctiveness. What is distinctive?
It's different from the job to another.
Over time,
Okay.
right? Environment. So looking at the environment, the physical, not people, but the actual space. So in the case of two different jobs, there are two different contexts. So distinctiveness refers to context. Do you behave the same way in one job as you do in a totally different job, as you do with your family? So in a context, it's not about the family, it would be really the context around you, the environment taking away the people. And we refer to distinctiveness. Okay? High distinctive means one behavior appears in one setting, but not in another. Therefore, the attribution would be situational. If you behave in a certain way in one place, but not everywhere, that means it's because of the environment you're in. Okay? More often than not. Bias is an attribution. Give me one. One bias and attribution. Actor-observer effect. What is the actor-observer effect? If I'm the actor and you're the observer, actor-based says it's situational, because that's when something goes wrong more often than not. Something goes wrong, we use the actor-observer effect. I'm the actor, I blame my shortcoming on the situation. You as the observer, blame it on me, on the disposition. Okay? The flip side, when things go right, is called self-serving bias. If I do something right as the actor, I think it's dispositional. You think it's very good. Okay? Diversity. Why? Why is diversity good?
For creativity. Because like people share opinions and they learn from them.
Learning from new opinions, creativity. Two heads are better than one. Good for marketing, good for international expansion, especially in this global economy. Okay, all very good. Okay, valuing diversity is not tolerating diversity. How do I value diversity? Putting policies in place, respecting the differences, not just tolerating differences, ensuring that we bring forward that we're doing a lot of things to encourage inclusion, not just say, hey, look, we've got 80 different countries represented in our school. Okay? Do we celebrate holidays? Do we take time to understand what that particular diverse component of the organization can bring? And diversity isn't just cultural. It can be different gender, different sexual orientation, various ages. Diversity has very many facets. It's not just culture. Okay, we're good? Cross-cultural variation in values. Give me 2 dimensions that Hofstede talked about. 2 dimensions.
Power distance.
Power distance is the extent to which
People in management that work with the employees, open door policies.
power distance is the extent to which a tremendous discrepancy exists in power between subordinates and superiors. So high power distance means there's a tremendous inequity that exists between superiors and subordinates. Okay? Low power distance would be the open door policy, the flat organization, the easy access to higher level employees by lower level employees. Another dimension, we have power distance. Collective versus individualism. North America is predominantly individualistic. That's right. Me, myself, and I. Collective.
Masculinity.
Masculinity, femininity. What is the difference between a masculine culture or a feminine culture?
Well, men are more in power.
Men, it's a more patriarchal model. Men tend to have more power within those structures.
And feministic is more like equality, values more equality.
Yes. Equality, egalitarian models. Exactly. They value equality, they value justice, and they value harmony and collaboration rather than competition and winning over losing. Okay? Good. How do people develop and change attitudes? What is an attitude? Give me a mathematical equation for attitude. Values plus your beliefs will lead to how you feel towards something, which is the attitude. How do people change? Do they change their values, you think?
No.
Unlikely. So what has to change? Beliefs. Why do people change beliefs? Why would anybody change a belief? New knowledge or new information that you weren't aware of before.
Also, like, we can change like our opinion about that person, because maybe the person changed with time.
Right, so you observe it. So there's fact, there's proof. So you get proof that there is a change, therefore your belief about that individual changes, which leads to an attitude shift towards that particular individual or that particular activity. Okay? So that's how we change our attitudes. Very good. Job satisfaction is defined as attitude towards a job. That's it. It's your attitude towards a job. High job satisfaction would be positive attitude. Why? Why would somebody have high job satisfaction?
If they're happy.
They enjoy what they're doing, leads to intrinsic motivation in a perfect situation. The question about performance is going to come. So performance will come in just a second. Does higher performance lead to higher job satisfaction? Not necessarily.
High performance lead to high job satisfaction, but not the other way around.
Both are not necessary.
Both are not necessary.
Not necessarily. It's an imperfect relationship. Yes, in a perfect situation, the higher the performance, the more satisfied you are. And the more satisfied you are, the better you'll perform. However, that's not how it works. Performance is affected by so many other factors, such as competency, skills, knowledge, education. Someone said luck. Luck, external factors that are outside of your control. So performance may or may not be present whether you are satisfied or not. Okay? Discrepancy? Discrepancy?
Setting goals.
Okay, you're jumping further down, but that's right, it's setting a goal. So let's say discrepancy is?
Isn't it what you, the outcomes you perceive from your job versus what you actually receive?
Right. What I expect from my job compared to what I get from my job or a situation. In this case, in an organizational setting, we talk about what I expect versus what I get. The gap between the two is the discrepancy. If I expect my job to be flexible to pay a certain salary and to allow me to learn new skills, and I get all three, then there's no discrepancy. Discrepancy is zero. It's what I expect from my job compared to what I get out of my job.
Could it be like contrary, like you thought you were gonna get less and get more? Is that?
That's right, you can have positive, right? You can have a positive discrepancy. You can think you're supposed to make 50,000 and you're getting 70,000. It's a very positive discrepancy, right? So you're 20,000 ahead of what you thought you'd be at. So the discrepancy can exist the other way as well. Fairness. What kind of fairness? Three kinds of fairness. Procedural fairness is about, what are the three? Let's start from the beginning. Procedural, distributive, interactional. Right? We talk about fairness or justice. So distributive. Yes, the resources. How the resources are distributed. How they're assigned. Procedural. What? Distributive is what resources are distributed. Okay? Procedural is how they're distributed. On what basis? Based on what criteria and what rules? Is it consistent? Is it fair? Are we getting rid of people in a certain department based on particular criteria that is consistent over time? Or does it change depending on who the person is who might be laid off? Okay? So procedural fairness is very important to make people feel that the system is transparent. Third one is? Interactional fairness, which is the way these outcomes or the way decisions are communicated. Exactly. A very fair decision can sound very unfair if it's presented in a very impersonal manner. Okay? Disposition we talked about. Mood and emotion. Mood defined as longer term, less intense, more diffused. Feeling. It's a feeling. That's all it is. Okay? So more diffuse, longer lasting, less intense feeling. Emotion? Intense. Short-lived. Feeling. Very, very pronounced. It's a spike. You'll see it as a spike. So, we talked about it, right? Higher job satisfaction doesn't always lead to higher performance and vice versa. What about high job satisfaction, absenteeism? High job satisfaction, high or low absenteeism? Lower absenteeism, right? It would lead to lower. Turnover, high or low? Low. Performance? High, but it depends, right? Yes, it should be high, but it depends on other factors as well. Performance is based on many other factors other than simply job satisfaction. OCB, higher. The more satisfied you are, the more likely you are to engage in organizational citizenship behavior, which is defined as voluntary, spontaneous behavior that is not rewarded or recognized by the organization that contributes to organizational goals or effectiveness. Okay? It has to contribute to the organization's success. It can't just be nice. Okay? Someone being nice is someone being nice. It's not OCB until it contributes to organizational effectiveness. We're good? Doing okay so far? Yeah? Okay. Customer satisfaction. Higher job satisfaction will lead to higher customer satisfaction. Right? You're happy in your job, your customers feel that you're happy in your job. Okay? And it's positive and it's good for business. Continue. Commitment. Affective commitment. You stay in a job because you want to. Is it good?
Yes.
The best. Right? The best reason to stay in a job is because you love your job and you want to stay in your job. Affective. Continuance. Staying in a job because you have to. Right? You don't have the means to leave either because no other choice or financial commitments from your lifestyle force you into multiple, expenditures that you cannot afford to forego. Weak job market, no opportunity out the outside that would be better than what you currently have. And finally, normative commitment, staying in a job because you feel you should. Certain moral obligation to stay on. A lot of non-for-profits, a lot of Well, the NGOs do very well because people are there because they feel committed to the organization and what the organization stands for. They feel they need to stay with that organization because of what it stands for. We're good? Yes? The cultural dimensions? We talked about a few. Just know a few. You should review Hofstede to understand what some of the dimensions are. We talked about 2 of them, actually 3 of them. We talked about masculinity, femininity, power distance. We talked about collectivism, individualism. Okay? So just look at Hofstede, understand what they are. If you have any questions, please email me between now and Friday if it's unclear. Motivation. What is motivation? Right, so the 4 parts of motivation, when we define it, we talk about effort, direction, goal, and the persistence, exactly. So one must persevere. When the going gets tough, you don't quit. Motivation, having the motivation means pushing through the hard stuff, pushing through the difficult times. So persistence is very important. So the basic properties, you got the 4, feel comfortable, you need the goal, you need to know where you're headed, you have to be working towards that goal. You can be motivated to do things that are not in line with an organization's goals. That's great, but that motivation doesn't particularly help your organization. Intrinsic and extrinsic motivation. Intrinsic, coming from within. You find it from yourself. It's called something else as well. Autonomous. Autonomous. It's up there, okay? Autonomous motivation, stemming from within you. Okay, that's important. Having that autonomous motivation is great. You don't need someone to dangle a carrot in front of you or to constantly oversee your work to help you get excited about working and persevering, applying effort towards the goal. Extrinsic motivation, while it's necessary, okay, we try to have more intrinsic. What is extrinsic motivation? Controlled from outside by your environment. An example of extrinsic motivation. Money, pay raise, bonus, promotion, benefits. Okay? Porsche. Porsche? Porsche is a good one, actually, yeah. We talked about self-determination theory. Self-determination theory in very simple terms. It's autonomous. Whether it's autonomous or controlled, and you choosing to pick the motivation that works for you, finding the motivation from within you to get a particular task achieved. Factors that predict performance. What predicts performance? The personality dimension of conscientiousness is linked with performance, yes. Emotional intelligence is a tremendous predictor of performance, and general cognitive ability. Okay? General cognitive ability is your data processing capacity, your ability to do mental calculation, tactile skills, basically your ability to manage mental data. Okay? So, intelligence, emotional intelligence, conscientiousness as a character trait, all right? All good predictors of performance. McClellan's needs theories. What did McClellan talk about? You should know this. 3 needs.
Yeah, the need for power, the need for...
Start